Now we have one more speaker, and then we get to go in. The bar will move with us, so don't worry about that. It's my pleasure to introduce Ambassador al-Yamani, Khaled al-Yamani, who served as Yemen's foreign minister from 2018 to 2019, and as permanent representative to the United Nations from 2015 to 2016. His diplomatic career spans over 3 decades, including postings in London, Malaysia, and New York. He also was a non-resident senior fellow at the Atlantic Council Snowcroft Middle East Security Initiative. As Yemen's foreign minister, Ambassador al-Yamani played a pivotal role in the UN-brokered Stockholm Agreement in 2018, aimed at de-escalating the conflict in that country. Ambassador al-Yamani has consistently advocated for the international community to address the humanitarian crisis in Yemen, and most importantly for U.S. national security interests, and also his country's interests, to counter the destabilizing activities of the Houthi movement. Please join me in welcoming Ambassador Khaled al-Yamani.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm really honored to address this gathering and to extend my gratitude also to the leadership of the Middle East Forum for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to talk about evolving strategic dynamics in the Middle East. As Yemen Foreign Minister and Ambassador to the United Nations, I carry a weight of a nation ravaged by conflict, where families are displaced, children go hungry, and communities are held hostages by Houthi militias. This is not just a geopolitical crisis, it's a human tragedy that demands our collective resolve. Today, I will address the growing threat posed by the Iran Houthi proxies in Yemen and their destabilizing ambitions across the Red Sea and Horn of Africa. On May 6, 2025, President Trump announced the suspension of U.S. military strikes against Houthi positions in Yemen. This decision, though politically motivated, carries profound strategic consequences. After 52 days of intensive airstrike without ground operation to reclaim Houthi-controlled territory, Operation Rough Rider limited impact on the terrorist network became evident. Meanwhile, Houthi drone and missile attack on U.S. and international assets in the Red Sea and beyond would continue, often under pretext such as supporting the Palestinian cause. Can we afford to ignore this persistent threat to global maritime security? Iran's influence in northern Yemen started in 1979, aligning with the ambition, the cleric's ambition to empower Shia minorities across the Arab world. The Houthis' rise accelerated after Yemen 2011 uprising, the so-called Arab Spring, and seized Sana'a in 2014. This power grab, backed by Iran, transformed local militia into regional threat. Unraveling decades of fragile progress and lack of social transformation since the 1962 revolution in Yemen. As early as 2006, during the presidencies of Saleh and Hadi, Western intelligence documented pro-Iranian Yemenis militiamen training in Hezbollah's camp in southern Lebanon, preparing for asymmetric warfare along Saudi Arabia's southern border. The Islamic Revolution Guard, the terrorist arm of the Iran Revolution, has openly pursued using the Houthis to destabilize the Arabian Peninsula with ambitions to challenge Saudi sovereignty over Mecca and Medina. Iran's vision extends beyond Arabia. The Houthis now control key maritime positions in the southern Red Sea and Gulf of Aden, and threatening routes carrying 15% of the entire global container traffic. According to UN panel of experts on Yemen, the Houthis have acquired Iranian Sumar cruise missiles with 1,300 kilometer range, threatening countries in the region and international shipping. And I was repeatedly saying that during my time in the ministry, that what will happen when the range, these 2,000, 3,000 kilometer range come to their hand, they will attack Europe. And that will happen under any pretext. If they are doing anything related to Islam, they will just adventure towards doing. They are terrorists and they will do it. And Iran understand how to use them very well. Their next step is cementing Iran's influence among the fragile and failed state in the Horn of Africa. And this is what's happening now. Since 2001, Iranian leaders have openly discussed expanding their influence across the Red Sea and the Mediterranean. While Israel in the Israeli operation of 2023 disrupted part of Iran network, the Houthis remain a formidable force evolving from a tribal militia into a sophisticated terrorist entity projected to acquire hypersonic missiles and stealth drones. What might their capabilities look like in 5 years? Some in the West claim Iran's regional axis is collapsing. This is a dangerously misled view. Why do some underestimate the Houthi-Iran alliance? Iran's strategy remains intact with the Houthis as one of its most potent proxies, and Hezbollah continue to rebuild in Lebanon despite setback, and pro-Iranian militia dominate Iraq. Is that a fact? That's a fact. The Houthis are unconcerned with the suffering of the Yemeni people, prioritizing Iran agenda, preserving their arsenals for attack on international shipping and the region and beyond. The Houthi ambitions now extend to the Red Sea, Gulf of Aden, and the Horn of Africa. For years, Iran has cultivated influence through Shia missionary activities and alliances with terrorist groups in Somalia. Iran has sought to exploit a Shabab network, offering weapons for influence, while in Eritrea, port access agreement raised concern about Iranian naval presence. The threat of Shia-dominated Horn of Africa is emerging. What happens if the Red Sea, a lifeline for global trade, falls under Iran's shadow? Over the next 5 years, we may witness the intensified efforts to disrupt maritime routes, extract illegal profits through ransom and protection fees, target Western military bases, particularly in Djibouti, and transform the Red Sea into an Iranian-controlled zone. 2 minutes. Okay. I finished my 20 minutes already? I'm very sorry, but I'll try to be. Okay, official rhetoric in areas controlled by the internationally recognized governments still cling on hopes of popular uprising in northern Yemen to take over the Houthis, and that's unrealistic if you see the history of Yemen. And also, they mentioned that unified offensive by fractions aligned to the government, such as National Army, the Salafi Giant Brigade, West Coast Forces, Southern Transitional Council armed groups, and Al-Uruba brigades, are unrealistic, really, because those factions has a decade of fragmentation, and rival commands have crippled these forces. Daily declaration by government representative of readiness to liberate Houthi-held territory defended by disciplined Houthi militia often serve as a public relation to deflect criticism of an an incapacitated government. We commend the United Arab Emirates' decisive role in the liberation of Aden in 2015 and Saudi Arabia's effort to stabilize Yemen, yet the fragmentation of forces in liberated areas underscores the need for renewed coordination. I will just mention my impressions of the shifting policies in the U.S. During the Cold War, when you wanted to know anything about Yemen, South Yemen, you go to Moscow. North Yemen, you go to Riyadh. And after reunification, we tried to build some interest to try to attract the attention of US and Western countries to come to our country. And we created an independent state, united Yemen, South and North. And we started the idea of security. Then Saleh used security. He created Al-Qaeda in Yemen, and he invented the proliferation of Al-Qaeda in Yemen to squeeze some money out of the U.S. Defense Department. And you know all that story. So with the Houthis phenomena, now we are coming back into the old cycle of dealing with Yemen. We started to understand to deal with Yemen, with the Houthis, we need to go to Iran, and to deal with the remaining part of Yemen, to go to Riyadh. US, I think, realized, if you see the shrinking of the expenses of the embassy in Yemen that is radicated in Jeddah, you realize that the US trying to pull out and go back to the old rapprochement of dealing with Yemen through Riyadh. For years, some researchers some research center downplayed the Houthi-Iran connection, portraying the Houthis as an independent actors. This narrative has been shaped in part by Iran's active lobbying efforts in Washington, D.C., and by political advocacy promoting engagement with Tehran. And that was always the talk in Washington, D.C. It aligned also with broader school of thought in the U.S. foreign policy that tolerate low-level regional tension as a mean to sustaining reliance on American security guarantees. Let me just jump to the end, as I'm being kicked off the podium. And let me just, in a conclusion, what happens if we allow Iran to lead the next phase of regional dominance? Can we afford to wait until the Red Sea is an Iranian-controlled zone? It took nearly 5 decades to contain Hezbollah, leaving Lebanon in ruins. We cannot repeat the same mistake. The only way to dismantle Iran's last active proxy in Arabia is to retake Houthi-controlled territory by dismantling their military infrastructure. Hidden deep within the mountains of Yemen, these fortified networks are being steadily upgraded under the direction and supervision of commanders of Hezbollah. And this is new news. After their defeat in Lebanon, they send their commanders now in Yemen, because Yemen is their active now operation ground. So though the ground operation is not viable today, it must remain our long-term goal. By maintaining FTO designation formation, forming a multilateral task force, and disrupting Houthi network, we can neutralize the threat and build the Yemen where children attend school, not militia camps. And the Red Sea is a corridor of commerce, not conflict. If the international community fails to confront the Houthis today, we must prepare for the inevitable strike when the global coalition is at its weakest moment. As an extension of Iran's expansionist project, the Houthis threaten regional stability and global security. Together, let us act decisively to secure the region's future. Thank you.